Hello, my name is Derek Anene, and this is my individual submission for my referral module 5CCGD09W. The project is titled Roadside Survivor. This is a vehicle-based arcade prototype developed as a vertical slash. So, the goal of this project was to implement core gameplay mechanics, which consisted of vehicle movement, collision detection, and a health-based damage system. So first I'm going to show the core gameplay. So while driving, let me start the game. You can see the movement. I can move forward, left, right, the wheels don't roll, but this physics are being simulated as you saw when I landed. And okay, now let me show you the enhanced input actions in the blueprint, the player blueprint, right here. Click that. Okay, let's look at it. So this is how I cause the car to move. This event here, it takes input from the keyboard, specific key for movement, so AWSD, and that data is fed into this function which adds force, which applies force to the player object, which causes it to move. And it also involves these values here, action X and Y multiplied, and acceleration is checked obviously so it doesn't get slowed down. On top of that, I also involved the obviously the SM, that's the car mesh transforms. So it knows what to actually apply the force to. And here the camera, I use the camera transforms so the movement is in accordance with the direction the camera is facing. That's how I involved it here in the multiplication to then add it to the final force which is applied. And then next, in fact, yeah, this is also the part where I did the camera looking. So the data from the mouse Y and X is fed into these functions here. Controller pitch input. The value here is multiplied by -1, so it's not inverted when you move the camera, and the other one is automatically fine. I also had print string here in this function where it calculates damage. If I move it, the function here, the player's health, as you can see on the left as well, the variables are the health, they're all max health, health, and damage, and the strength. The health is subtracted by the damage, which is in the event any damage. So when the player takes damage, which will be called by another event in the enemy blueprint, then this occurs. So the player health gets subtracted by the damage, which is set to 10, and then the player health is set to the and then that gets printed with this message. So the player gets set to their current health minus the damage. And here, this is where the health bar is created, the widget for the health bar, and that's also where I did the progress slider. So it reduces, starts the screen, it reduces, they take damage. And yeah, that's enough for that. The play screen, that's everything I had there. Now let me show you the health bar reducing upon collision with the enemy. I can move the camera. The camera is good, it's smooth. The movement is quite smooth. When I collided an enemy in front of me, boom, my health bar drops a lot because I collided the every collision it drops. It's a bit unforgiving, but I can fix that as well later on. Now let me show the enemy script as well. As you can see here, this event on component begin overlap. what this does is when the enemy box overlaps with the player collider, this caster player allows it to access the collider as well, by the way, and this acts it here allows it to access the player object box collider. So then, when it overlaps, it applies damage to the player's health, and it causes the player event any damage to execute. So what this essentially does is causes an event, the player's event, to start running, so it can actually take damage. And the print here again prints another message, and that's pretty much it for the enemy event graph. Yes, and I think yes, the progress bar. Here, this is where I designed it. Very simple. That's the progress bar there. Set it to full, and this will reduce when the player takes damage, like you saw. Its default value is 1, set to full, yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this prototype so far. That's the enemy material here that I designed by myself. And this car mesh I'm imported from Fab, but I've referenced it, so I shouldn't be breaking any copyright laws. Now, coming down to reflection, during development, I faced a few technical challenges, specifically with the physics simulation, like the movement of the objects. It wasn't in accordance with the camera. So if you turn the camera, the play would still go in the wrong direction. But I was able to fix that. To resolve that, I had to update the actor mobility to a movable. If I go to it, the box, I had to set that to movable. When I imported the cars, well, I had to set that to movable. And the collisions, I also had to change that as well. So I had to set this to pawn, custom, and block all the collision responses. Same with the block, set to pawn. And yeah, I didn't customize it. As for the assets, I also had to manually assign the materials to the static mesh component to ensure that it actually stayed with it and there wasn't any problems with the visualization as individuals. But these are the only problems I really ran into. And in conclusion, I believe this as a functional vertical slice that actually meets the MVP requirements for this module. Thank you for your time and for reviewing my submission.